This truckload of cedar logs is just arriving from the state of Maine, where it was cut down just a couple of days ago. And it'll be joining hundreds of thousands of board feet of white cedar, which will be converted here in Canada into shingles. We're at a shingle mill in a little village called Saint-Pamphile in Quebec province. And we're going to tour the whole operation. Earlier today, I spent some time getting the information, how the process takes place, from Gilbert Tardif, the owner of the mill. Take a look. Okay, Gilbert, tell us, how are the shingles actually made?
Yes, we are going to see it in the plant in a few minutes, but
in the mill.
Since there is much noise over there, I'd like to look at this display first.
Oh, great. Yeah, I bet it'll be quieter here. All right, you've taken the bark off the logs. I can see that.
Yes, and then these logs are slashed into different sections.
You cut them into sections.
In fact, 16-inch section.
That corresponds with kind of the universal dimension,
yes,
length dimension
right,
on
right.
a shingle.
Okay.
Then what do you do?
Then the sawyer takes over.
Oh, I like that term, the fellow that actually uses the saws.
Yes,
yeah.
The sawyer is looking for grade.
Uh-huh.
It takes to make the best out of one section.
Neat. So it's kind of like a diamond cutter, figuring out how to best cut the stone.
That's right. I think you would start by the outer face, then slicing it into different pieces.
So that he would be making longitudinal cuts along the log.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's exactly like so.
Oh, so that you take a whole section and you cut it into, well, are these shingles?
No, I think out of these slices, many shingles may be obtained.
Out of each slice you might get a whole bunch of different shingles.
Yes, depending on the various characteristics of the slice. Then you may cut it into different pieces.
Tell us about those.
For grade.
Tell us about the grade characteristics.
Okay, I have an example here. You have the dark lines represent the saw line. And then you have here the first cut will be an A grade because it's a perfect piece.
No imperfections in it, yes. The sawyer would be cutting one A-grade shingle out of this side of this slice of wood, and over here...
This would be a C grade on account of these knots that you can see here from the base to the tip of
and these knots occur along the part of the shingle that would be exposed to the weather.
Yeah, that's right. It should not be used for roofing or sidewalls.
Right. And then by the same token over here, you have a grade B. Why is that? Because of this...
On account of this hole here, or that was a knot that has a pop-off.
Uh-huh. And this is a D.
On account of this knot that appears in the exposure.
Mm-hmm. And then what does the finished product start to look like?
Well, the finished product would look like this display here. You have the A grade, which is the first quality.
And all the edges have been cut nice and square. Yeah.
That's right. And then this shingle would be used for roofing purposes.
Or for sidewall, right?
The most demanding utilization.
Yes. And then over here would be a B?
This one is a B on account of this knot that will appear in the tip of the top, yes.
Yeah. And then the lesser grades. Well, could we actually go and take a look at the first step in the process, where all the bark is taken off?
Yes, let's go, Bob.
Now, Gilbert, I thought Canada was full of trees. How come you have to import your cedar from Maine?
Yes, this area here has been logged for over 125 years, so we are left with no commercial cedar of any good size.
So you're dependent on the U.S.?
Yes.
So tell us what goes on here. How does this work?
Here, this is the debarking station. I think where you see the log spin off, and then the bark is removed, and then the log moves into the mill.
What about the mill itself? Can we take a look inside now?
Yes, this is lunchtime now. This is quiet, and we can go in it very conveniently.
Okay, so once they're in here, what's going on?
Yes, the log with the bark off moved into this conveyor and then accumulated before they are slashed into 16-inch bowls.
We get some pretty big logs in here, don't we?
Yes, you can appreciate the
and you use a pretty big blade.
Yes, this is a 60-inch blade that cut the logs into these sections.
Mm-hmm. So it's actually slashing them up.
Yes.
And then what?
And then we move this section to each of the machine.
An assembly line kind of situation, or
yes, that's right.
belt
And
distributes them. How many workstations are in here?
We are 11 workstations here.
So this is where a sawyer would be operating.
Yes, the sawyer will take this log and place it into this clamping device and run the logs against the saw.
Right, into the blade,
Yes,
kind of like the meat slicer in a delicatessen. Yeah.
That's right.
And then what?
Then the slice is taken from this blade and then run into this edger saw that is used to make a square edge.
So he actually places them on here and
That's right.
runs them through there.
And that way, and then throw it into the proper bin.
Oh, because he's doing the selection process all at the same time.
That's right.
Oh, no more line drawing or anything like that.
No, everything happened in his mind.
And eyeball. Well, when do they get back from lunch?
Well, in fact, in a few minutes now.
Oh, good. Well, when the workers did get back from lunch and all the machines were turned on, the noise was deafening. This lethal-looking 60-inch saw blade made quick work of the cedar log. But the thing I couldn't believe was the man-machine interaction. It looked perfectly terrifying. Meanwhile, at those 11 workstations that Gilbert told me about, these fearless sawyers were working at blinding speed. Watch as this man nonchalantly plucks tapered slabs of shingle stock from this blade, a blade he can hardly see. That's done with his left hand. Then he makes the grading cuts with split-second precision. How a man can do this work for 10 hours a day without making a tragic mistake is a wonder of hand-eye coordination. And get this, all the work in this mill is piecework. The sawyer is paid by how many shingles he has cut, not how long he can stand at this dangerous machine. Meanwhile, Gilbert took me to the other side, behind the saws, where still more workers sit cross-legged all day long, packing the various grades of shingles into bundles. These workers, if they're lucky, will one day take the place of the sawyers. But the wait for those good jobs is a long one. Finally, the bundles are secured with metal bands, just the way it's been done for 100 years. Well, I'll tell you, Gilbert, I have all sorts of new respect, but it certainly looks like a dangerous occupation, making shingles.
Yes, but it may be dangerous, but we have very little accident. I think people are very careful and very well trained.
So it's more dangerous than it looks, is that
Yes,
right?
maybe so, yes.
Tell me something, how did you come up with the name Maybec?
Well, Maybec is an acronym made up of two words, Maine and Quebec.
Oh, that's nice. So it's combining the two places where
That's
everything's
right,
off.
yes,
Yeah, very good. Are you worried about running out of cedar? I mean, you don't have any left in Canada, and
No, I think as long as Maine remains there, I think I'm pretty confident that we can still run that mill for many years.
this mill here is running, what, 24 hours a day?
20 hours a day on two-shift basis.
Two shifts, with how many men working?
About 64 people working in the mill.
What's your production then?
We are producing about 8,000 of these bundles
8,000 bundles?
per week.
Per week.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
Well, I really appreciate the tour. We've learned a lot about shingles, and I've got all sorts of new respect. Tell me, what do you think about the Stanley Cup? Who's going to pick that up this year?
Oh, I think maybe Quebec Nordic maybe winning this year.